Hey, Story Knights. I'm here with a review for the first issue of Mr. and Mrs. X. This is a spin-off book, I'm assuming, off of the X-Men Gold and all the other random colored X-Men books that they have now. And it's basically a story centered around Rogue and Gambit after they get married. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this right out the bucket that I am not a huge X-Men person. I'm not super well versed in X Men, especially recent stuff from the last 10 or 15 years. I pretty much I pretty much only like the 70s and 80s of X Men. Like I'm not really a big 90s X Men guy or anything like that. So this is the first X Men related book that I've read in quite a while. So I was kind of like lost on a lot of these characters, who they were, ones that appear like in the backdrop of the story because it's a wedding. So there's, of course, there's lots of characters moving around. I was very lost on that, and I was also lost on some of the aspects. Like, I don't remember Mystique being Rogue's mom, but I guess has she always been Rogue's mom, or was that revealed later? I don't know. Like, I seem to kind of remember it, but I kind of don't, so wasn't sure if it's always been a thing. Like, I remember, I think they said it, like, I think they might have mentioned that, like, in the X-Men Evolution cartoon, but has it always been in the canon? I don't know. But that's aside the point. This was a interesting issue of it was a cool. It's weird. Like, I liked the first half of the story way more than I liked the second half of the story. Which the first half of the story is the kind of like slower pace, not really any action in it. It's all about the wedding, and then the second half is about the honeymoon, which, of course, cliche, is where the honeymoon is where all the action happens. And no, I don't mean just sex, even though there's some of that too. I mean, that's actually where all the fighting stuff, and all the conflict comes from, of the issue. But still, it was an interesting story nonetheless. The first half of the book, like I said, is a slower paced story. It's more character driven. There's lots of fun interactions between many of the different X Men characters, even some new ones that I don't know. And there's lots of banter, funny jokes, trading blows, verbal blows with each other, making fun of each other. Just fun character moments. Like, it was fun to see, like, X-23 or whatever her name is cutting, like, Ramsey's hair, Gambit's hair, because it was all over the place, and that was just kind of silly to me, but it was fun to read. Having all the talking with, just some girl moments with Rogue and Magic, and her mom, Mystique, pops up, and they have kind of a tender moment, and it's some good character stuff in here. Like, I really did enjoy that stuff. There's some fun stuff where, like, for some reason all the other X-Men are acting like it's teams, like they're Team Rogue, Team Gambit, which I think was kind of making fun of the whole, like, all the Civil War type stuff they do nowadays, like, like Marvel Civil War, and all these different fractions, frictures between teams that they do nowadays in comic books. And I think that might have been a way to, like, make fun of that. But it was fun because they kept acting like it was a competition, and Rogue had to keep reminding people it wasn't a competition. I even like the small detail that Rogue actually uses a power dampener to so she can actually touch Ramsey on her wedding day, and in her honeymoon, as she specifies. It was a very interesting plot point. And I even like the part where she's talking about how having the collar on for so long gives her a headache. And she was like telling Beast, "I wish we could figure out a way to make these things less hurtful to us." Which Beast replies with a kind of a smug remark. He's like, "Yes, us mutants should spend more time developing a technology that's used to suppress our powers and to capture us." And Rogue's like, "Yeah, I get it. It was a funny moment, but I like the idea because characters like Rogue actually can benefit from something like that, where its main purpose is to disarm, and to hold down, to capture mutants. That's its main purpose, is to make mutants less powerful, less dangerous. So I kind of like the idea that Rogue's using it positive. The second half of the book is where it kind of loses points for me. It turns into kind of a, like, space opera superhero story, and it just was not as interesting to me. They go on a honeymoon in space because Ramsey wants to get away from everybody. Gambit, he wants to get away from everything. He doesn't want to get called on a special mission or anything. But then, of course, while they're in bed, Kitty Pryde, because apparently Kitty Pryde is like a leader of the X-Men or something. I don't know how that happened. She calls and basically asks them to go on a mission, and they're like, of course Gambit's like, "No, man, this is our honeymoon." And Rogue's like, "But it must be really important if they called us all the way in space or whatever." And you find out that there's a like package that needs to be delivered back to the X-Men or whatever. It's in space, and they're the closest ones to it by a long shot. So they go and try to retrieve it, but of course they're met with some resistance from like the Imperial Guard or whatever, the Shi'ar. I think it's that galactic group of like mutants that always pops up in the X-Men stories from way back in the day. Uh, it just gets the action's fine, but it just felt kind of cliche and generic, and I like the character stuff way more than this like kind of hyper action stuff we got in the second part. There were some fun little dialogue, jokes and stuff between Rogue and Gambit, but overall, the second half really didn't do it for me as the first half did, which is really surprising because I thought I was gonna like the action more. But also, there's a surprise guest appearance by a character in the last panel that really just kind of felt shoehorned to me. Didn't feel like it really fit. The character just doesn't feel like a character that you would see like in the middle of space in an X-Men book. Yeah, like I think it kind of ties in with that character story that's going on right now, which I'm not reading that character story, so I don't. It's hard to figure that out for sure. But it just felt very forced and shoehorned just because that character's popular, and like I don't know, it just that part threw me off too. Like the whole second half just threw me off and made me not like this book as much. So overall, it's a good book. It's probably a good read and a good buy. I guess part of me was just expecting more of a full-on character, fun time, wedding story. Because that's usually what wedding stories are in comics. They're usually more fun character interactions between lots of different characters. But this one had to have kind of a generic action side plot throw in, which I really didn't think worked. But as always, thank you guys for watching. And let me know if you like this book or not. Let me know if you're Team Rogue or you're Team Gambit. Because, yeah, just let me know that, guys. Thank you for watching, and see you guys later.